Happy December, Bridal Biz Club girlies. Let's get into this classic bronzy soft glam look with super glowy skin. So I am starting off obviously with skin prep. We all know that is the most important thing in the whole world. Your skin prep is important, so I started with just a Bioderma cleanse just to get anything off of her skin. The D'Alba Serum Spray. I love the Serum Spray. I don't love the White Truffle Spray. The Serum Spray I think is better when it comes like a glowy base, so that's why I've been using that. Then I mixed Embryolisse and the Saie Dew Drops. They're moisture drops. Not they're moisture drops. They're like glowy drop situation. They're really pretty for a very, very glowy. But again, it's very glowy, so if you are not looking for that, these are not what you want to do. Kiehl's Avocado Eye Cream. Like normal, this is my normal skin prep that I use basically on everybody. Then I just used her natural brow hairs because she had a lamination and tint already. So I just took a little bit of the Brow Freeze from Anastasia, put that through her brows. Then applying the Tarte Shape Tape all over her lids, carving out her brows a bit, and then just buffing that out with a fluffy brush. I used a little bit of a lighter base, but I wasn't wanting to go like too crazy with this base because we're doing a pretty bronzy look, so I just wanted to start with more of a blank canvas instead of like a crazy bright canvas because we're just going to darken it up anyway, so using anything lighter isn't going to really benefit me on the lid of the eyes here. Which normally when I'm doing like a classic bright look, I'm going to go a little bit lighter on the lid shade. Then I coated everything in the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder. This is pound cake all over the lids. Then I go in with bronzer. This is the NARS Laguna 2, and I buff that all over the lid and right into like kind of almost next to her nose. Using a bronzer as a blending shade is just going to make everything blend really seamlessly, not only on her eyes but like into her face. It makes everything just a little bit more cohesive. And then I highlighted underneath the brow bone with a nice bone shade. I used the lightest shade from the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions to their matte palette. I love this palette. Every shade that I used here besides the shimmer is from the Major Dimensions 2 shades. So I just did like a kind of medium brown on the outer corners. This is the Hourglass pressed glitter. This is the bronze color. I love these. I have all of them. They are $30. They're ridiculously overpriced, but they are so pretty. If you don't have them, you need to get them. Then I utilized the darker shade. This is just a darker brown in that same palette. And I just outlined kind of the wing shape that I wanted. I did a very minimal amount of color on the end of that brush and just kind of buffed that, almost kind of creating the shape that I'm going in with the liner now. So this is the Inglot Black Gel Liner. I love this liner. This is the only gel liner that I use. I think it is amazing. Doesn't crease, doesn't move, and it lasts all night long, so it is perfect for a sweaty, gorgeous bride. I take this with a kind of tiny, it is a liner brush, but it's a little bit thicker. It's not a very thin brush. I like having a little bit of support on the bristles instead of something that is really bendy. This is the, I think it's pronounced Dalium. I always thought it was Bendalum, but it's definitely Dalium. One of my friends was like, girl, that's not how you pronounce that. I was like, oof, well. But this is just one of their liner brushes. Is a little bit thicker and has a really nice point to it. I love it. And my beautiful bride here, she's not a bride, she's a model, but she has lash extensions. So whenever you are dealing with lash extensions, kind of throughout the process of doing the eyeliner, I always just keep a eyeliner and the eyeshadow. I keep a little spoolie that is soaked in Bioderma right next to me so that I can constantly be cleaning off her lashes. Then I take one of my favorite little orange sticks. I get those in Amazon to clean up that liner. Now, the thing about this liner is it does dry down very fast and it dries down very aggressively. So you do have to be like a little bit more harsh when it comes to getting it to be cleaned up off the skin. So I apply a little bit more pressure than I normally would. You can use an oil-based eye makeup remover that will take this off a lot easier, but I just don't carry one of those because I'm scared of them. Then I use a dark brown. This is the Makeup Forever, I think it's called deep brown. They have weird names, okay? It's the dark brown of their eye pencils, their artist color pencils. I put that in the inner corner and tightline the top and the bottom of her eye because we want this to be, I call this like it's sultry, but it's not smoky, you know? So it has a little bit of a deeper vibe to it, but it's not really overly smoky and dark. And then I put a little bit of just a highlighter on her inner corner. And now we start with the skin. So we wanted a very bronzy but glowy look on her skin. So I took the Rare Beauty. This is the liquid contour. I freaking love these. I love them for underpainting because they do dry down. They don't move around with all my other products, because that's what is so frustrating sometimes about cream products underneath liquid foundation, is that if you blend them too much, everything gets muddy and weird, and this does not do that. So if you don't have these and you like underpainting, you need to get them because they're really, really good, I promise. So I'm just putting this on the entire perimeter of her face, anywhere that I want to bronze or contour or anything like that. I love doing tiny brush, big brush combo. This just, I feel it gives me more control over that. Make sure when you're blending into the hairline too, you gotta kind of get aggressive with it. Now I know if you have more of a bleach blonde or anybody that's super blonde, it can get a little dicey up in there. But the one thing that I enjoy doing when I have, you know, anybody that's bleach blonde or really blonde, when I do underpaint or just do makeup on in general, same thing that I did with her eyelashes, is you soak a spoolie in Bioderma and you rub that right through her hair. Now, if she has her hair done before, what I would do is maybe put some tissues or something in her hair so that you're not getting it all over the hairstylist that you're working with. I am my hairstylist, so I don't normally work with other hairstylists, so I can fix it if I need to, but definitely talk to whomever is doing the hair that you are working with. But anyway, I just kind of go back and forth with this, and now let's do the nose contour. Now, I personally am not a crazy fan of like the super aggressive nose contour. I like a soft nose contour. I don't want people to look and be like, wow, she's got a lot of nose contour on. Like, that's just not really the vibe that I like in my makeup style. So I love to underpaint the nose contour, and then I really softly will go over top of it with a powder just to kind of blend everything together. But this is where that bronzer that we put down on her eyes is going to help kind of blend this nose contour in, because I'm going to fluff that very, very lightly into that eyeshadow just to kind of make a more seamless blend. Hourglass Vanish concealer goes underneath the eyes. I do a medium-ish layer of this because the foundation that we used was a little bit lighter coverage, so this is going to kind of provide the most amount of coverage. She has beautiful freckles here, so I didn't want to completely make those go away, but we're kind of going for like more of a glam vibe. So I definitely use a little bit of a higher coverage concealer. I would say if you're looking for something that's not as high coverage as the Hourglass but performs in the same way, I love the House Labs concealer. It does perform in the same manner. It's just not as pigmented when it comes to coverage. Same thing with the other eye. I make sure that I clean up around the area where I cleaned up with the Bioderma. So I'm kind of going in and cleaning up twice and just doing that right underneath the eyes. I do a nice kind of V shape underneath because, again, we are kind of working this in with our foundation to make sure that this gets the most coverage, and then the foundation just complements this. I blend this out like 15,000 times just because I'm very, very particular about how my concealer is blended. I really hate when the under eyes look chunky, so you're going to see me go back and forth like 15 times to blend this concealer out, but it's fine. Then I highlight the middle of her face. I love a good like 2016 full beat. I love my Makeup by Mario. This is the F5 brush. I use the dense side to blend out most of my concealers. Sometimes the foundation, I love the kind of lighter, fluffier side for my foundations because it kind of pushes everything into the skin, versus this really, really blends and doesn't pull up any product. Mr. Mario here really knew what he was doing with his foundation brush. So then I take the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I love this foundation. I've been using this in the All Hours YSL foundation kind of interchangeably for the last couple of months, and I love them. I apply this with a foundation brush, and then I paint it on and then blend it in little sections. Make sure that you bring everything down the neck. She is a tan girly, but the neck is not tan, so we have to make sure in photos she's not looking crazy. So we have to make sure we blend all of that down the neck. I am just going to let you watch the blending situation of this happening and how I apply this. I'm not going to talk you through this. It's just going to be easier if you watch it. Okay, hello, welcome back. I'm back. I pull everything obviously down onto her chest as well. We're going to do body glow too, but we want to make sure, like I said, her neck was a little bit paler than the rest of her body. It's very important that you make sure that the neck and the chest and everything matches the face. So pulling that down however much you need to is what is going to make you look A, professional, and B, make them look even better. Then I did the Saie. This is the light pink blush. I freaking love this blush. It's so glowy, it's so pretty, and it just adds the perfect amount of color for people that aren't like blush girlies, you know what I mean? Which I fear I need everybody to be a blush girly, but we weren't going for like a super pinky look, and some people are just not into the really aggressive blush. So this is a perfect blush for someone that just wants a little bit of color, but it's not going to be too crazy like the Rare Beauty ones. Then we are baking. This is the same thing, the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder. I go right underneath basically all of the areas that I put concealer on or things that I want to look a little bit more matte and set. Now, I love this powder because it can be melted down, and it melts down really, really nice with setting spray. I will say I used to use the Givenchy before they tore that from my cold dead hands, which is, I'm very upset about it. But I feel like it did not melt as well as the Huda Beauty does, which I think is why I have such a love for this powder. Is it stays matte, but it also melts, and it just works really, really well with other products. So again, just a love letter to that, just in case you need to know. Then I go through, make sure every place that I want on her skin is matte, and then I brush that off with one of my favorite Real Techniques brushes. If you don't have this brush, you need this brush. I love this brush. I have like 17 of them, honestly. It's just, I don't know, it's just perfect. I can't tell you why it's perfect, but it just is perfect. Then I just kind of dust off all the powder. I'm not really wiping any of the powder away. I'm just dusting away the excess. I'm using a very, very light hand. As you can see, I pull really far back on the brush so that I'm not putting too much pressure on the face at all, because I don't want to move anything around. Then I soak her with setting spray. This is the One Size Powder Melt. I do take the same foundation brush. I really lightly, listen to me, really lightly tap on the skin. I know I've said this in other tutorials, but you have to really, really lightly tap on the skin. If you tap too much or if you pull too much product up, you're going to be really mad at yourself because you're going to start creating splotchiness, and that is really, really hard to fix. So try to avoid that. Do very light taps just to make sure. I just do it in areas that need a little bit more blending. Then I put on some highlighter. This is the Charlotte Tilbury, the Hollywood Flawless highlighters in Champagne. Love this highlighter. I don't like a really blinding highlighter for weddings. I just like something that gives a very light glow. The Dior ones are really nice. I love the Charlotte Tilbury. The Glowgasm ones are also really nice. Just something that's not like intense. I do have intense highlighters because some people ask for them, but I just prefer something that gives a light glow to the skin and is not necessarily like overwhelmingly glittery, sparkly. Some people ask for that, some people don't, so I have them if I need it, but I don't prefer that. Then I do another layer of the setting spray just to kind of melt in the blush, everything kind of together. Just do one more because again, we wanted a very glowy look. So the setting spray is going to be a big proponent in getting things to stay for long periods of time so that you still utilize the powder in the way, but they're going to look super glowy. Then I use the Sephora, this is the Monarch pencil. I love these lip liners. If you haven't tried them, you definitely should. They are just super creamy, but they stay a really long time. So I did a more like kind of classic nude with the brown liner, and then I went over with the Charlotte Tilbury Kim K, and I mixed a teensy bit of the Sephora No. 4 lipstick in there just to kind of give it a slight kind of mauve-y tone, because I didn't want it to be like straight up nude and brown. I wanted it to kind of be a little more relaxed, if you will. Then I went over with the Tower 28 clear gloss on top of that. And then we are doing the Live Tinted Hue Drops. This is in Moonlight. And I put that all over the chest. I blend this in with a Real Techniques kabuki brush. I love this kabuki brush for the shoulders. I feel like it just buffs and blends really easily. And like I said, it's bigger. So the surface, it just makes everything a little bit easier. get that all over the chest. I always hit everything also with one size on till dawn after, especially that body glue, just to make sure that we don't get anything on their clothes. And then I take all of my beautiful after photos with my makeup light, and that is exactly how I get this kind of soft glam, glowy, very bronzy look. I am so excited to hear what you guys think about this, and I cannot wait to see you in the new year.